What's up, dudes? I am here at GuitCon 2018 with Brian Gabriel from Supro Amps, and he was kind enough to bring this wonderful little 5-watt Supro over here that we've been listening to and digging all day. And I coaxed him over to the Tone Lounge here to set this up, and we have it running through my rig. And welcome so much, Brian. I'm really glad you. As we were talking earlier, I had a Supro when I was a kid.
Yes.
And so I have like a real nostalgic, affinity for the brand. So when they came back about 5 years ago, I was like ecstatic, And we were talking about. You were just talking moments ago about how, the. Well, you can tell. I don't want to give away the story, but
no. It's a great story. Again, we relaunched the brand 5 years ago, and at the time, the gentleman by the name of Bruce Inke was the holder of the Valco Supro name and all the specs, and he had a pretty good kinship with our CEO Dave Koltai, and decided he didn't want to get involved in the marketing aspect of getting launching a brand. And so Dave Koltai really embraced the idea and worked side by side with Bruce Inke, as most of the amps in our product line have Zinke DNA in them.
Sure.
As he is a renowned amp builder.
Sure.
So Koltai really went the mile and dug into old specs and catalogs and really embraced the aesthetics and what they represented. In the iconic sense of modern, of what our modern music is and how it evolved, and Valco being right on the cusp of that, supersedes, all brands.
Right,
From 1935 till 1969, these amps were everywhere. You'd find them in studios and if you look at some
in my bedroom,
in your bedroom, well, it's a great story because it does connect, a lot of guys in a certain demographic or age bracket who share the same sentiment you do about how, that was your amp for several years. And
my dad just brought it home one day. I got an amp today.
Yeah.
I was like, great.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know Supro from Duplo. I mean, it didn't mean anything to me as an 8-year-old kid. But
right.
then, we had a little black one for a couple of years, and then all of a sudden he brought a blue one home, like you have
right.
here, the identical Tolex.
Right.
And I upgraded from the black to the blue.
Right. Well, that was the thing, in keeping with that. I mean, that's a really good point. We have our Legacy series, which garners the black Rhino hide Tolex, and then our blue series is the blue Rhino Tolex. And that's, once again, we really nailed the aesthetics and didn't just, slap a Supro logo on the amplifier. And, there was a lot of thought that goes into our build and our circuits. Everything's proprietary. Transformers, our speakers are custom voiced and made in USA by Eminence in Kentucky.
Great.
And we do a lot of hand assembly back at the shop. The guys there really know their stuff, and we do the board, put the boards in, we wire the switches in, we mount the speakers, we put the whole amp together essentially.
Sure.
And it's pretty interesting. I just started with Supro a year and a half ago, and I didn't know much about them except the mythic aspect of Jimmy Page, using it on the first couple of Zeppelin records.
I've already convinced myself that I had Jimmy Page's amp, and I sold it at, this is before I had the blue one.
Right.
Lord knows how much my dad sold the black one for, right. Probably $40 knowing him.
Well, that's what's interesting is that it even we tied that in with the Black Magic was, that namesake and... the whole idea behind that amplifier was to pay homage to Jimmy Page.
Right.
And we had contacted his tech, and we got a little insight as to, what the workings were on those albums. And although they didn't really get into complete specifics, they alluded to certain products that have the namesake now with that circuitry. And, that was kind of a cool way to really kind of relaunch the brand. So the Black Magic literally had the blessing firsthand from Jimmy Page, and we sent him one, and he dug it. And then with the Black Magic Reverb, that was a collaboration with Lenny Kravitz, and we kind of expanded on that chassis.
Sure.
So
This little one here, this is a 5-watter?
this is a 5-watt single-ended 6v6.
Yeah. It was loud. I was surprised at how loud it was.
Yeah, it's amazing how much with the right transformer that you
Right.
can get out of you can extract from a tube. So for a 5-watt amplifier, it'll put out.
Yeah.
Put out.
Yeah, no, I was, of course, I'm across the room. We're at GuitCon right now. I'm across the room, and I'm, looking at a couple of guitars, and I hear a wonderful tone. And sort of made my way over.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, he's playing through this amp?
Yeah.
Right? I was like, wow, it was seriously full sounding.
Right.
I thought it was one of the larger amps. You have several amps over there. I could have sworn it would be one of the larger ones. And I was like, geez, because you have sound baffles in front of us. Geez, that baffle's not doing too much work over there, huh? It was so loud, and I go over there, it's this little 5-watt.
Right,
I'm
right.
like, what? Mind blown,
Well, in the first incarnation in this footprint, this is a 1x8. The first one we did was a Supro,
Okay.
which was a 1x8, one knob, 6v6.
Okay.
And then we decided to take it a step further, and we put a tone stack, bass and treble,
Okay.
master volume, and a gain. Obviously, we added the reverb tank. And as we were talking before, we're actually utilizing, a pretty cool feature of this amplifier, which is a line-out
Yeah,
mix.
why don't you play a little bit, and then we'll talk about that so people
Sure.
can hear it first. Now, this is just the amp direct. I'm not running anything on my software. It's plugged directly in. The only thing we have running in here is a cab simulator because we don't have a cab. We're not plugged through a cab right now. Boy, that sounds just great.
It's
and that's
sweet.
And that's directly in.
Yeah.
It's so wonderful.
Yeah, it sounds great in the cans.
Yeah, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I mean,
it
it's like
really
you would
does.
think I had a nice mic on it, but I can't run a condenser in here. I would pick
Yeah.
up everyone else in the room. So,
Yeah.
that direct out gives you, the opportunity to be in the situation that we're in right now. We're in a very noisy room. We're trying to capture this amp.
Right.
We're using these very tight and dynamic mics
Yes,
and
we're
getting right on
very
top of them.
intimate right now.
Exactly. And, how are we going to get the sound of this amp, into my recording system? And you're like, hey, it's got to line out. I'm like, what? Mind blown. And sure enough, we plugged that right in, and we were able to run it in here. And the only change I had to make was that I had my input set to instrument. I just had to change it to line so that the signals would match up in impedance. And of course, they did after that. And then we just added a cab. Because it's too stark. You need a
Yeah,
cab
you
in
need
this.
something to
You need
warm it up.
something to warm it up, and so
Yeah.
we just add a little cab in there, and that's it. The reverb you're hearing is the reverb out of the amp, and you're hearing it through a speaker at the end of the chain, like you would if you were hearing it through the amp, right?
Yeah.
The last part of the chain would be that speaker. So it sounds wonderfully warm through here. I think I was a little surprised that when we first started setting this
Yeah,
up, I was like,
yeah.
wow, this thing sounds pretty damn good,
Yeah.
It's so versatile. I mean, it's a great little studio amp in the sense that you can plug it in directly. You could mic it up if you want. It's a very small amp. I
Right,
think we were
lightweight,
talking
yeah.
very lightweight. As we were talking earlier, it takes pedals very well.
Yes.
So so what's the exact name of this model?
This is called a reverb.
A reverb.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So is there a
Supro
reverb 5-watt? Is there many different models, or the reverb is a 5-watt model and that's it?
That's it, yeah. So again, we have the first incarnation was the 1606, which
Okay.
is kind of a throwback, one knob.
Sure.
And then we came out with the 1605R, which is the same circuit,
Okay.
just master volume, and once again a tone stack.
Okay.
And then the reverb tank. Once again, the cool feature is the one we're using now.
Right.
And the other aspect of it is it can be used as a front-end preamp to another amplifier or a standalone reverb tank.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
for it's something in a compact small footprint, it's a pretty versatile amplifier. And once again, it has a classic Supro tone.
Sure. Let's just finish out with a little bit of riffage here.
Yeah, and it's just a dynamic range. And right now, we're kind of tame on the settings, but the feel of it is really fantastic.
Wonderful.
Because then I can dig into it.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it's
wonderful.
Sweet.
So, if people wanted to go check out more about this, where would they go?
Well, they can go to our website, suprousa.com.
Suprousa.com. Okay.
And,
I will leave a link to that down in the description.
Yeah, and on that website, there's a detailed description of the amplifier. There's also a dealer locator list. So in your area, just put in your zip code and find your nearest Supro dealer.
Great.
Pretty cool. Or call me. I'm the inside sales rep for Supro, so for the East Coast.
There you have it. We'll flash his personal phone number up on the screen before the end of this video. Feel free to call him day or night. All right,
24 hours.
Yeah. All right, guys. Brian, thank you so much for joining me.
I appreciate it.
Guys, as always, thanks so much for hanging out, and rock on.